such a nice, sweet kirtan. So, as Jagannath Gopal Prabhu mentioned, we are in last few sections we are discussing about Bharat Mahārāja's life and who was the eldest great exalted son of Lord Rishabdev, who is one of the incarnations of Supreme Lord Krishna. So we saw how he had different lives as a king, and then in a body of a deer, and then as a Jad Bharat. So this section in chapter 10 is about discussion between Jad Bharat and Mahārāja Rahūgaṇa. So I will first we will read the translations. I will share my screen. There are only 25 verses. We can have three devotees, each reciting 10, 10, and 5. So let me just share. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So please, devotees, if someone wants to start. Uh, yes, Ritesh Prabhu, Nandini Mataji.
Hare Krishna, brother. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Sukdev Goswami continued, My dear king, after this, King Rahugana, ruler of the states known as Sindhu and Sauvira, was going to Kapilashram. When the king's chief palanquin carriers reached the banks of the river Ikshumati, they needed another carrier. Therefore, they began searching for someone, and by chance they came upon Jad Bharat. They considered the fact that Jad Bharat was very young and strong and had firm limbs. Like cows and asses, he was quite fit to carry loads. Thinking in this way, although the great soul Jad Bharat was unfit for such work, they nonetheless unhesitatingly forced him to carry the palanquin. The palanquin, however, was very erratically carried by Jad Bharat due to his sense of non-violence. As he stepped forward, he checked before him every 3 feet to see whether he was about to step on ants. Consequently, he could not keep pace with the other carriers. Due to this, the palanquin was shaking, and King Rahugana immediately asked the carriers, Why are you carrying this palanquin unevenly? Better carry it properly. When the palanquin carriers heard the threatening words of Maharaj Rahugana, they became very afraid of his punishment and began to speak to him as follows. O Lord, please note that we are not at all negligent in discharging our duties. We have been faithfully carrying this palanquin according to your desire. But this man, who has been recently engaged to work with us, cannot walk very swiftly. Therefore, we are not able to carry the palanquin with him. King Rahugana could understand the speeches given by the carriers, who were afraid of being punished. He could also understand that simply due to the fault of one person, the palanquin was not being carried properly. Knowing this perfectly well and hearing their appeal, he became a little angry. Although he was very advanced in political science and was very experienced, his anger arose due to his inborn nature as a king. Actually, King Rahugana's mind was covered by the mode of passion, and he therefore spoke as follows to Jad Bharat, whose Brahman effulgence was not clearly visible, being covered like a fire covered by ashes. King Rahugana told Jad Bharat, How troublesome this is, my dear brother. You certainly appear very fatigued because you have carried this palanquin alone without assistance for a long time and for a long distance. Besides that, due to your old age, you have become greatly troubled. My dear friend, I see that you are not very firm, not very strong and stout. Aren't your fellow carriers cooperating with you? Thereafter, when the king saw that his palanquin was still being shaken by the carriers, he became very angry and said, "You rascal, what are you doing? Are you dead despite the life within your body? Do you not know that I am your master? You are disregarding me and are not carrying out my order. For this disobedience, I shall now punish you just as Yamraj, the superintendent of death, punishes sinful people. I shall give you proper treatment so that you will come to your senses and do the correct thing." Thinking himself a king, King Rahūgaṇa was in the bodily conception and was influenced by material nature's modes of passion and ignorance. Due to madness, he chastised Jad Bharat with uncalled for and contradictory words. Jad Bharat was a topmost devotee and the dear abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although considering himself very learned, the king did not know about the position of an advanced devotee situated in devotional service, nor did he know his characteristics. Jad Bharat was the residence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He always carried the form of the Lord within his heart. He was the dear friend of all living beings and he did not entertain any bodily conception. He therefore smiled and spoke the following words. The great Brahmana Jadbharat said, "My dear king and hero, whatever you have spoken sarcastically is certainly true. Although these are not simply words of chastisement, for the body is the carrier. The load carried by the body does not belong to me, for I am the spirit soul. There is no contradiction in your statements because I am different from the body. I am not the carrier of the palanquin. The body is the carrier. Certainly, as you have hinted, I have not labored carrying the palanquin, for I am detached from the body. You have said that I am not stout and strong, and these words are befitting a person who does not know the distinction between the body and the soul. The body may be fat or thin, but no learned man would say such things of the spirit soul. As far as the spirit soul is concerned, I am neither fat nor skinny. Therefore, you are correct when you say that I am not very stout. Also, if the object of this journey and the path leading there were mine, there would be many troubles for me, but because they relate not to me but to my body, there is no trouble at all. Fatness, thinness, bodily and mental distress, thirst, hunger, fear, disagreement, desires for material happiness, old age, sleep, attachment for material possessions, anger, lamentation, illusion, and identification of the body with the self are all transformations of the material covering of the spirit soul. A person absorbed in the material bodily conception is affected by these things, but I am free from all bodily conceptions. Consequently, I am neither fat nor skinny nor anything else you have mentioned. Thank you, Bro.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, Nupur.
Yeah, Krishna. Project 10 verses, right?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
from 10 to 20. Sorry, 11 to 20.
Okay. My dear king, you have unnecessarily accused me of being dead, though alive. In this regard, I can only say that this is the case everywhere because everything material has its beginning and end. As far as you're thinking that you are the king and master and thus trying to order me, this is also incorrect because these positions are temporary. Today you are a king and I am your servant, but tomorrow the position may be changed and you may be my servant and I your master. These are temporary circumstances created by providence. My dear king, if you still think that you are the king and that I am your servant, you should order me and I should follow your order. I can then say that this differentiation is temporary and it expands only from usage or convention. I do not see any other cause. In that case, who is the master and who is the servant? Everyone is being forced by the laws of material nature. Therefore, no one is master and no one is servant. And nonetheless, if you think that you are the master and I am the servant, I shall accept this. Please order me. What can I do for you? My dear king, you have said, you rascal, you dull, crazy fellow, I'm going to chastise you, and then you will come to your senses. In this regard, let me say that although I live like a dull, deaf, and a dumb man, I'm actually a self realized person. What will you gain by punishing me? If your calculation is true, and I am a madman, then your punishment will be like beating a dead horse. There will be no effect. When a madman is punished, he is not cured of his madness. Shukadev Goswami said, O Maharaj Parikshit, when King Rahūgaṇa, chastised the exalted devotee Jad Bharat with harsh words, that peaceful, saintly person tolerated it all and replied properly. Besides, is due to the bodily conception, and Jad Bharat was not affected by this false conception. Out of his natural humility, he never considered himself a great devotee, and he agreed to suffer the results of his past karma. Like an ordinary man, he thought that by carrying the palanquin, he was destroying the reactions of his past misdeeds. Thinking in this way, he began to carry the palanquin as before. Shukadev Goswami continued, O best of the Pandu dynasty, Maharaj Parikshit, the king of the Sindhu and Sauvira states, Maharaj Rahūgaṇa, had great faith in the discussions of the absolute truth. Being thus qualified, he heard from Jad Bharat that philosophical presentation, which is approved by all scriptures on the mystic yoga process, and which slackens the knot in the heart. His material conception of himself as a king was thus destroyed. He immediately descended from his palanquin and fell flat on the ground with his head at the lotus feet of Jad Bharat in such a way that he might be excused for his insulting words against the great Brahmana. He then prayed as follows. King Rahugana said, O Brahmana, you appear to be moving in this world, very much covered and unknown to others. Who are you? Are you a learned Brahmana and saintly person? I see that you are wearing a sacred thread. Are you one of those exalted liberated saints, such as Dattatreya and other highly advanced learned scholars? May I ask whose disciple you are? Where do you live? Why have you come to this place? Is your mission in coming here to do good for us? Please let me know who you are. My dear sir, I'm not at all afraid of the thunderbolt of King Indra, nor am I afraid of the serpentine, piercing trident of Lord Shiva. I do not care about the punishment of Yamaraj, the superintendent of death, nor am I afraid of fire, scorching sun, moon, wind, nor the weapons of Kuber. Yet I'm afraid of offending a Brahmana. I'm very much afraid of this. My dear sir, it appears that the influence of your spiritual knowledge is hidden. Factually, you are bereft of all material association and fully absorbed in the thought of the Supreme. Consequently, you are unlimitedly advanced in spiritual knowledge. Please tell me, why you are wandering around like a dullard? O great saintly person, you have spoken words approved by the yogic process, but it is not possible for us to understand what you have said. Therefore, kindly explain it. I consider your good self the most exalted master of mystic power. You know the spiritual science perfectly well. You are the most exalted of all learned sages, and you have descended for the benefit of all human society. You have come to give spiritual knowledge, and you are a direct representative of Kapiladev, the incarnation of God, and the plenary portion of knowledge. I am therefore asking you, O spiritual master, what is the most secure shelter in this world? Is it not a fact that your good self is the direct representative of Kapildev, the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? To examine people and see who is actually a human being and who is not, you have presented yourself to be a deaf and dumb person. Are you not moving this way upon the surface of the world? I am very attached to family life and worldly activities, and I am blind to spiritual knowledge. Nonetheless, I am now present before you and am seeking enlightenment from you. How can I advance in spiritual life? Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Nupur. Hare Krishna. Would anyone else like to complete the section, last 5 verses? Yes,
I can do it, Prabhu. Oh, sorry. Can anyone?
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead if anyone else.
Sundari Sakhi was first. Sundari Sakhi.
You have said I am not fatigued from labor. Although the soul is different from the body, there is fatigue because of bodily labor, and it appears to be the fatigue of the soul. When you are carrying the palanquin, there is certainly labor for the soul. This is my conjecture. You have also said that the external behavior exhibited between the master and the servant is not factual, but although in the phenomenal world it is not factual, the products of the phenomenal world can actually affect things. That is visible and experienced. As such, even though material activities are impermanent, they cannot be said to be untrue. King Rahūgaṇa continued, my dear sir, you have said that designations like bodily fatness and thinness are not characteristics of the soul. That is incorrect because designations like pain and pleasure are certainly felt by the soul. You may put a pot of milk and rice within fire, and the milk and rice are automatically heated one after the other. Similarly, due to bodily pains and pleasures, the senses, mind, and soul are affected. The soul cannot be completely detached from this conditioning. My dear sir, you have said that the relationship between the king and the subject, or between the master and the servant, are not eternal. But although such relationships are temporary, when a person takes the position of a king, his duty is to rule the citizens and punish those who are disobedient to the laws. By punishing them, he teaches the citizens to obey the laws of the state. Again, you have said that punishing a person who is deaf and dumb is like chewing the chewed or grinding the pulp. That is to say, there is no benefit in it. However, if one is engaged in his own occupational duty as ordered by the Supreme Lord, his sinful activities are certainly diminished. Therefore, if one is engaged in his occupational duty by force, he benefits because he can vanquish all his sinful activities in that way. Whatever you have spoken appears to me to be contradictory. O best friend, I'm sorry. Yeah. O best friend of the distressed, I have committed a great offense by insulting you. I was puffed up with false prestige due to possessing the body of a king. For this, I have certainly become an offender. Therefore, I pray that you kindly glance at me with your causeless mercy. If you do so, I can be relieved from sinful activities brought about by insulting you. O my dear Lord, you are the friend of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the friend of all living entities. You are therefore equal to everyone, and you are free from bodily conception. Although I have committed an offense by insulting you, I know that there is no loss or gain for you due to my insult. You're fixed in your determination, but I have committed an offense. Because of this, even though I may be as strong as Lord Shiva, I shall be vanquished without delay due to my offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, devotees, for reading the translation. I will just share my slide. Are you all able to see the slide?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. I will now chant Mangala Charan, then will proceed further. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजाता सागना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सागना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं च नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरतिशे नमः हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विश्वभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये पंचकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे राम 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 हरे यं प्रव्रजन्तम् अनुपेतपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकरत्कथारजुवा पुत्रेति तन्मयता तर्वो भिन्नतस्तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिम् अनाथोऽस्मि यस्वानुभावम् अखिलश्रुतिसारमेकम् अध्यात्मदीपम् अतितिर्शतं तमोऽन्धं संसारिणां करुणया पुराणगुह्यं तं व्याससूनुम् उपयामि गुरुं मुनीनां नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरयेत् शृण्वतं स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तन हृदयन्तो सुभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतं नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवते उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नष्टकी मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयितें गिरिं यत्कृता कृपा तम् अहं वन्दे गुरुं श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणम् ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Thank you, devotees, for joining our Srimad Bhagavatam Sangha weekly every Tuesday. So this is chapter 10 about discussion between Jat Bharat and Maharaj Rahūgaṇa. I will quickly do a recap of last few sections which we have been discussing so far. So we started we are discussing in chapter 7 about activities of Bharat Maharaj, who was a Mahabhagwat, topmost devotee of the Lord. He was entrusted by Lord Rishabdev to protect the earth and how he perfectly ruled the planet. The planet was actually named after him, Bharatvarsha. He performed sacrifices in consciousness of offering everything to Lord Krishna, Lord Vasudev. Thus his bhakti increased. After ruling for 10 million years, he retired to Pulashram on banks of Gandaki river. He worshipped Lord Narayan there and attained the symptoms of perfection. In chapter 8, we saw the description of character of Bharat Maharaj, how he brought a doe infant deer to his ashram and how he gets attached to the deer, compromising his sadhana, and then his lamentation in separation from the deer uh, whenever he doesn't see it. And due to the absorption in uh, in the deer at the time of death, Bharat Maharaj attained the body of a deer. So we can see how by Krishna's mercy in his dear body, he remembered his past and lamented for the mistake he did and became very careful now. He was anxious to get out of his dear body, and that intensified his bhakti. As a result of this, he received a Brahman body in his next life. In the chapter 9, we saw the supreme character of Jad Bharat, which was the third life of Bharat Maharaj. So in this life, Jad Bharat completely avoided bad association since he had his remembrance of his past and he wanted to avoid it. He was always internally thinking of Krishna, but externally acted like a madman who was dull, blind, deaf. Jad Bharat's father was very much attached to him, but he tried his best to educate him, but he would always do things in reverse order. So he finally gave that up, and after some time, he left his body. Jad Bharat was how we saw how Jad Bharat was mistreated by stepbrothers and others, neighbors, but he accepted everything with indifference. And we also saw that how he was arrested by some dacoits who wanted to sacrifice him to goddess Kali. But when the head priest raised his sword to kill Jad Bharat, being unable to tolerate the offense to devotee, goddess Kali appeared from the deity and cut off the heads of rogues and drank their blood. So we can see how the exalted Paramahamsa devotees like Jad Bharat, who remain always undisturbed in all the calamities and circumstances. So in this chapter, chapter 10, I followed the Bhagavad Subodhini by Gaurang Darshan Prabhu, and these are the sections, 4 sections of this chapter, which this chapter can be divided into. From verse 1 to 8, how Rahūgaṇa offends Jad Bharat, then how Jad Bharat's reply to Rahūgaṇa, King Rahūgaṇa's humble submission, and finally how King Rahūgaṇa inquires to Jad Bharat's reply. So we can see the journey of King Rahūgaṇa from offending Jad Bharat to the inquiry. So in the first section, we can see the story of how King Rahūgaṇa was the ruler of states Sindhu and Sauvira. He was going to Kapil Ashram in a palanquin, and when the king's chief palanquin carriers they reached the banks of river Ikshumati, they needed another carrier. So they started searching for someone, and by chance they came upon Jad Bharat. They thought Jad Bharat looked very young and strong, and he had firm limbs, so he was quite fit to carry the loads. Jad Bharat was a qualified Brahman and a very learned. He was very learned in spiritual knowledge. Yet they forcibly engaged him to carry the palanquin, as although he was not fit to do such work. So while walking, Jad Bharat being compassionate to ants, so there were a lot of ants on the path where the palanquin was being carried. And Jad Bharat being compassionate to ants, checked every 3 feet so that he doesn't step on them. And due to this, palanquin was shaking, and this agitated King Rahūgaṇa. He asked the carriers why palanquin was being carried unevenly and mentioned to carry it properly. So here we can see in this small section the nature of pure devotee of the Lord. So a Vaishnava is always compassionate and kind-hearted towards all living entities. He doesn't forget his bhakti and other favorable activities even in most distressful condition. So Jad Bharat actually didn't mind doing the work of carrying palanquin even though it was not fit for him. But at the same time, he could not forget his duty to avoid killing ants. So he had a lot of sympathetic feelings towards ants passing on the road. So when palanquin carriers heard threatening words of King Rahūgaṇa, they become very afraid and thought they would get punished now. They said, "We are not negligent in discharging our duties properly, but this new man does not walk swiftly, and therefore we are unable to carry the palanquin with him." So we can see in this context the other carriers were Shudras who had no sympathy for other living entities, and how Jad Bharat, who was not only a high caste Brahman but a Vaishnava also, was compassionate on all living entities. So Srila Prabhupada mentions here like how Shudras and Vaishnavas, if they come for a seva, then there is naturally imbalance in execution of duties because of the different nature. So King Rahūgaṇa was actually very knowledgeable in political sciences and government management, but he also served elderly sages, but yet his mind was covered with mode of passion. And due to this, as an innate nature of the king, he became very angry, and he spoke angrily and sarcastically. Uh, you must be fatigued from carrying palanquin alone for so long. So this is King Rahugana speaking to Jad Bharat. You must be fatigued from carrying palanquin alone for long and so far. You must be old and unhealthy without strong limbs. Are your fellow carriers not cooperating with you? So we can see here a distinction between the behavior of King Rahugana and Jad Bharat, how King Rahugana was in Rajoguna, mode of passion, and Jad Bharat was in Sattva-guna. So King Rahugana was angry with just slight agitation, but Jad Bharat, on contrary, was completely liberated. He was thoroughly convinced of the verse from Bhagavad Gita 2.20, Na hanyate hanyamane sharire, which means soul is not slain when body is slain. Jad Bharat was not, he was completely unaffected by Rahugana's sarcastic words, and as he was freed from bodily conception of I and mine, aham mameti. So he was very silent despite all the injustice done with him. And his spiritual power, his Brahmatija, was covered like a fire, how fire is covered by ashes. And we can see how he was realized in his spiritual identity also. He was completely on the platform of Brahma Bhuta stage, which is a reference from Bhagavad Gita 18.54. Brahma Bhuta prasannatma na sochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. So he was completely transcendently situated, and he had no lamentation or desire to have anything. He was completely equally disposed to his living entity, and that's how Krishna says in that stage, he attains pure devotional unto me. So without saying anything, Jad Bharat continued the palanquin. He heard all these strong, sarcastic and anger-filled words from King Rahugana, but he was without saying anything. He didn't say anything. He just continued carrying the palanquin. So even after hearing this, after seeing this, King Rahugana spoke angrily when he noticed palanquin was still shaking because the same pattern was still following. He asked, Are you dead? He said to Jad Bharat, Are you dead despite life within your body? Don't you know I am your master? You are mad. I shall punish you for your disobedience so that you will come to your senses. So, in this regard, we can see how King Rahugana was under bodily conception, and he was influenced by Rajo and Tamoguna, and he also considered himself as learned. While on the other side, Jad Bharat is a powerful devotee, completely free from pride, and he's friend to all living entities, Suradham Sarvabhutanam. He was a dear abode of Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he was self-realized also. So we can see how advanced mm, devotee is. He has so many qualities of an advanced devotee who is friend to all living beings, and he has no enemies. He's so he's Surada Sarva Dehinam, his friend to all the living entities, and a devotee. Srila Prabhupada mentions this beautiful point in the purport that when a devotee becomes angry at a non devotee, it is actually good for him, An example was Narad Muni, like how Narad Muni became angry on the two sons of Kuvera, Nalakuvera and Manigriva, but they got the greatest blessings of being delivered by Supreme Lord Krishna himself in his form as Damodar in Gokul Vrindavan. So advanced devotees are actually situated on the absolute platform. There is no difference when they are angry or pleased. Both are blessings. So I have a quick question for all of you. Why did Jad Bharat speak now? So far, he did not speak. He did not, despite seeing all this situation, strong words uh, from King Rahūgaṇa, and also previous experiences with his stepbrothers, neighbors. Uh, he did not speak. So why did Jad Bharat speak now? Yes, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu.
Maybe because he saw ignorance rampant in the words of this king.
Uh, yeah, actually, uh, it's it's uh, it's a little bit a different way. Yes,
I see.
Gautama Prabhu.
Krishnan Prabhu, please go ahead. You are ahead of me.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
Maybe he sensed that Maharaj Rahūgaṇa would be a good student and he would listen to him, and that's why. Maybe he sensed it, and that's why. Just a guess. Just a guess.
Quite near. Yes, Prabhu. Very nice.
So I feel that because he was a king, if he could transform him, then a lot of other people would also get transformed. That is why till now he was not speaking, because he did not find anyone through whom he could transform a lot of people. And he could transform the heart of a king, then all the subjects, the entire nation would be transformed.
Nice, nice answer, Prabhu. So I heard this from Gaurang Darshan Prabhu that generally when we are qualified and have some talents, people label us as if people label us as dumb-headed person, it's quite insulting and disrespecting. So it's in this situation, it's very difficult to tolerate, and we try to prove ourselves that I know everything, but Jad Bharat did not prove, because all this time he was dealing with people who were not very uh, well qualified to hear from him. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says Jad Bharat did not open his mouth when dacoits tried to kill him because they were in mode of ignorance. He did not say anything when his stepbrothers and neighbors mistreated him because they were in mode of passion. And Jad Bharat spoke to King Rahūgaṇa as he was in mode of goodness and qualified to hear from him. Jad Bharat behaved as a dumb person in front of people who were in mode of passion and ignorance, but he revealed to King Rahugana as self-realized person, as he was ready, he was fit to hear, and he was in mode of goodness to hear, and also because uh, King Rahugana thought himself very learned, Jad Bharat wanted to show mercy on him and defeat him with the knowledge. S- So this is a short summary of how Jad Bharat gave mercy to various people, like brothers and neighbors who were in mode of passion and mercy, and so he allowed them to see his form. For leader of dacoits who were in mode of ignorance, he arranged for his liberation in next life, as he saw both Jad Bharat and goddess Kali directly. And for King Rahuguna, who was in mode of goodness, revealed. So Jad Bharat gave mercy by revealing him the bhakti and gyan.
Can you go back to the previous slide, Prabhuji? I really liked it.
Yes, Prabhu.
So for brothers and neighbors, because they were in the mode of passion, so did he take them to the mode of goodness by the mercy? For someone in ignorance, did he take them to passion, or did he directly arrange for liberation? I'm trying to understand the sequence.
So, I'm not, I haven't heard exactly on this point, but from my understanding, uh, I feel like for brothers and neighbors, yes, he would uh, mm, raise him to them to the goodness. And but for ignorance, I got this from Gaurang Darshan Prabhu's Bhagavad Subodhini. So there is a table summarized there.
Okay, Prabhu. Okay.
This is so here it says arrange for his liberation in next life. So definitely is raising his consciousness to goodness. That would I would understand from this.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. So in this next section, we will see how Jad Bharat's reply to Rahūgaṇa. So first. So first question, which with the sarcastic comments from Rahūgaṇa were that he appeared fatigued by carrying palanquin alone for long time and distance. So Jad Bharat's reply was that I'm a spirit soul and I'm completely detached from my body. The load carried by body and resulting fatigue does not belong to me. So uh, here we can see in this context, when Srila Prabhupada said the words actually were true, not sarcastic. The load, path, and destination belong to body, not me. So Jad Bharat was completely uh, was advanced in the spiritual knowledge, and he had an understanding that he's a soul completely detached from the body and he's not fatigued carrying the palanquin. A devotee from Bhagavad Gita, you can see a devotee who is advanced in spiritual knowledge is not disturbed by pain and pleasures of the material body. So Jad Bharat was completely on the platform of self-realization, and he was convinced mm, and he convinced King Rahūgaṇa on contradictory things said about the body do not apply to him as a spirit soul. The next the next comment was, you are old and unhealthy without strong limbs. So all these bodily designations. So for this, Jad Bharat replied that all these bodily designations as fatness, thinness, hunger, sleep, etc., do not apply to the spirit soul. So these bodily designations, we can see how they are the transformations of material covering of the spirit soul. So these bodily designations only affect a person who is in bodily conception of life. Jad Bharat was completely free from such a conception. And Srila Prabhupada says, one who understands he is not his body and designations related to it attains the topmost form of spiritual realization. So we can see how the bodily conception leads to material entanglement, and on that platform, how can the human society and civilization be happy? So only when one is not affected by bodily conception, one can advance in path of bhakti. There's a famous Bhagavatam verse which we also sing in Mangalacharan. Nashta prayashu abhadreshu nityam bhagavad sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. So by serving Bhagavatam, book Bhagavat, and person Bhagavat, a pure devotee of the Lord, all that the contaminations and troublesome things to the heart are completely destroyed, and the loving service to personality of Godhead is established. The third comment was, are you dead despite life within your body? So Jad Bharat says to King Rahūgaṇa that you have unnecessarily accused me of being dead, though I am alive. This is the case everywhere because everything material has its beginning and end. The fourth comment was, don't you know that I am your master? So Jaḍa says, today you are king. So this master-servant differentiation is temporary and just conventional. So today you are king and I'm your servant, but tomorrow these positions might change. He didn't see any distinction between master and servant. Who is master and who is servant? So Srila Prabhupada says bodily conception is the basic principle of suffering in material existence. These positions like king or master, servant, dog, etc. are due to one's own karma. The spirit soul's original nature is to serve Krishna, Jiver Swarupa Nitya Krishna Das. But due to contact with the material nature, mm, the material energy of Krishna, who is very strong, Devi Aishya Gaunamai, Mama Maya Duratyaya, soul gets illusioned and gets misidentified with the body as Aham Mameti. Eternally, and then because of this, eternally suffers in material existence, which is the ocean of nescience. So, actually, no one is master in material world. Everyone is under control of material energy, who is ultimately in control of Supreme Lord Krishna. So, Krishna is the ultimate master. Like Chaitanya Charitamrit says, Ekale Ishwara Krishna Ar Sabhritya. Only Krishna is master, everyone is servant. So, if we, Srila Prabhupada says, if we agree to be controlled by Krishna, then all these temporary conditions cease to exist. And the last comment was, you are mad. I shall punish you for this disobedience. So for this, Jad Bharat says, I'm self-realized. Even if I'm mad, punishment is of no use. So even if, so Jad Bharat said, even if he is mad, punishing will be like beating a dead horse or grinding flour. What use is it of? Punishment doesn't actually cure madness, but makes it more worse. It makes person more insane. So Jadbharat said to King Rahūgaṇa, nevertheless, if you think you are king, uh, what can I do for you? So we can see what was the Jadbharat's attitude in this context. He is an exalted devotee of the Lord who never considered himself as Paramhamsa or a great devotee or a liberated devotee. He always remained humble servant of the Lord under all circumstances, and in all the reversals, he agreed to suffer the past, suffer the results of his past life. So there is a famous, beautiful verse from Bhagavatam, from 10th canto. Tate nukampam susumikshamana bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam ratvagva purbhir vidadan namaste jive tayo mukti pade sadaya bhak. My dear Lord, one who constantly waits for your causeless mercy to be bestowed upon him, who goes on suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds, offering you respectful obeisances from the core of his heart, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. So we can see how this relates to Jad Bharat, who had completely was in this consciousness that he tolerated the harsh words of King Rahūgaṇa and replied to him properly. He never considered himself as a devotee. He agreed to suffer reactions of his past karma, and he was never and thinking in this way, he peacefully began carrying palanquin as before. So we can see how this is a qualification for going back to Godhead from this verse. And the next portion is how King Rahūgaṇa reacted to this. So he had, the purport says, he had faith in topics of absolute truth. He had qualification to hear the philosophy, which is approved by scriptures. He knew the purpose of life and he gave up his pride as king. So he completely, after hearing from Jad Bharat, he fell at the feet of Jad Bharat to hear from him further inquiries about the absolute truth, Brahma Jigyasa, and he begged for forgiveness. So, a small question. So, what caused this transformation of King Rahūgaṇa? Okay. So, from what I heard, uh, so transformation is a two-way process, and so this involved King Rahugana's faith on topics about Krishna and his spiritual inclination. And it was also mentioned that he had served elderly sages, so that definitely also had an impact on this. And on the other side, Jad Bharat's wisdom, his wisdom and courage for uh, practicing what he spoke. So that caused the transformation in King Rahugana. So the next section talks about Rahugana's humble submission. So he saw how Jad Bharat moved uncovered and unknown to others, and so it he wanted to know more about him. He was very anxious to receive further enlightenment. So he asked him several questions like who are you? Are you a learned Brahmana? Are you a liberated saint like Dattatreya? Whose disciple are you? Where do you live? Have you come to benefit us? Or are you not Kapila or Narayan? So King Rahugana he saw Jad Bharat wearing a Brahman thread and also hearing from him about the absolute truth. He understood that he belonged to Brahmana family either by disciplinic succession or dynasty. So Srila Prabhupada mentions about a proper way of receiving spiritual knowledge, like Vedas quote, like in Mundaka Upanishad, Tad Vijnanartham sa Guru Meva Abhigachet. In order to understand Vedic knowledge, one has to approach properly a proper guru. And also in Bhagavad Gita 4.34, Tadvidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya Upadikṣanti Te Jnanam Jnaninas Tattvadarshina. So, Krishna said, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render service unto him. The self realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. So, this is a proper way of receiving spiritual knowledge. And then Rahugana also had fear of offending a Brahmana. This verse 17th from the chapter talks about it. Naham Vishanke Sura Raja Virjan Vajran na Traksha Sulanna Yamasya Danda Agni Arkas Somanila Vita Pastrak Chanke Brahasam Brahma Kulava Manad. So, my dear sir, I am not at all afraid of the thunderbolt of King Indra, nor am I afraid of serpentine, piercing trident of Lord Shiva. I do not care about the punishment of Yamraj, the superintendent of death, nor am I afraid of fire, scorching sun, moon, wind, nor the weapons of Kuvera. Yet I am afraid of offending a Brahmana. I am very much afraid of this. So King Rahugana was very much afraid that there were so many dangerous things mentioned in this verse, but he feared about Vaishnava Aparad more than all of them. So Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave instructions to Srila Rup Goswami at Dash Ashwamedh Ghat in Prayag about the seriousness of Vaishnava Aparat and how it is compared to a mad elephant. It is also called mad elephant offense, Hati Mata. Just like how mad elephant runs into a garden, a beautiful garden with creepers, flowers, fruits, and it destroys all of them. So similarly, a Vaishnava Aparat spoils one's all spiritual assets. So this was the consciousness of King Rahūgaṇa at that time, and he completely knew the results of offending a Brahmana or Vaishnava. So he immediately fell at the feet of Jaḍa and he begged forgiveness. So he he saw Jaḍa wandering bereft of material association, and he was in full knowledge and power. So he had still more inquiries, like why he asked Jaḍa, why were you wandering like a dullard? He was not able to understand his words about yoga, so he asked for more explanation. Please kindly explain them to me. King Rahūgaṇa also says that said to Jaḍa that he is master of yoga, best guru of all learned sages, and a direct representative of Lord Kapila. So, what is the most secure shelter in the world? So, we can see how Jaḍa was a perfect yogi and master of all mystics. We can see from this Bhagavad Gita verse, Yoginam api sarvesham mat gatarantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mata. Krishna says, of all yogis, he who abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is highest of all. So he he saw how the Jaḍa inherited all the knowledge from Lord Kapil Dev, and how Jaḍa can be directly taken as supreme personality of Godhead, because he fully represents the Lord when giving knowledge to others. Like Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in Guru Ashtakam, Sakshat Haritvena Samasta Shaste. So Jat Bharat was direct representative of the Lord. And King Rahūgaṇa concluded that it was appropriate. So after all this, he concluded it was appropriate to ask Jat Bharat about Atma Tattva, or the spiritual science. And the last point in this context was King Rahūgaṇa says, I'm attached to family life and blind to spiritual knowledge. How can I advance in spiritual life? So he wanted to know more, wanted inquiring more from Jad Bharat, as his heart was getting transformed. So I have got the table from previous slide about Rahūgaṇa's sarcastic comments which he made initially, and how Jad Bharat responded to them, and the third column adding how Rahūgaṇa's further questions based on the Jad Bharat's replies. So on his first comment about appearing fatigued by carrying palanquin alone for long time and distance. So he asked further that the soul appears fatigued due to bodily labor, like milk and rice in a pot experience heat of fire when they are put in the pot. So this is a discussion on impersonal Mayavad and Vaishnava philosophy. As Srila Prabhupada mentions that Mayavad philosophy says phenomenal world is false, but Vaishnava philosophy says phenomenal world is temporary but not false. There are two examples in this context: a dream and a water pot. So a dream is certainly false, but a horrible dream definitely affects a person seeing it. And a soul's fatigue is not factual, but it appears real because of one's association with the bodily concept of life. And a water pot, which is ultimately earth, which is made up of earth, and it's temporary. And actually, Srila Prabhupada says actually there's no water pot, but it's simply earth. But as long as it contains water, uh, it cannot be said as absolutely false. And regarding the example of pot on fire, so it is a correct from the practical point of view, but it is purely due to attachment with bodily concept of life. Like when milk and rice are put in the pot, when the pot becomes hot, heated, the ingredients also become heated because they're associated with the pot. Similarly, when a soul is affected by bodily play, pains and pleasures, so that is because of its identification with the body. So regarding the master, the fourth comment, that do you not know that I am your master? Rahūgaṇa further questions that it is king's duty to rule and punish disobedient citizens. So this argument, master-servant relationship, this argument looks effective, as also in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu can see Tasmat Kenapi Upayena Mana Krishna Niveshayet. Somehow or the other, one should engage in Krishna consciousness. So every living entity is actually the eternal servant of Krishna, but due to his forgetfulness, he serves Maya and then he is not happy. So the duty of king is to rule citizens, but that is a success in a real sense only when they become Krishna conscious. So in this case, we saw that how King Rahūgaṇa engaged Jaḍa in carrying the palanquin, which was actually a form of sense gratification. So it was not in the service mode. And regarding the last comment, that you are mad, I shall punish you for the disobedience. King Rahūgaṇa says, engaging in one's occupational duty vanquishes sins. So punishing is not useless if one is engaged in one's duty as ordered by the Lord. King engaged in his dharma of punishing the citizens, worships the Lord and vanquishes all his sins. That was his further questions. So in the last two verses, King Rahūgaṇa says to Jaḍa that how he was being puffed up with false prestige due to possessing the body of king, and how he had offended him, and he prayed to get mercy from Jaḍa, and how he can be relieved from the sins of neglecting a devotee. So in this verse again, in 24th verse, Srila Prabhupada mentions about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentioning about Vaishnava Aparadh and how it is compared to mad elephant, how it destroys the spiritual assets. So the so process to get relieved from it is to immediately apologize the devotee to whom we have offended. And the last verse is about King Rahūgaṇa saying to Jaḍa that he will be destroyed by the offense. So uh, he says to Jaḍa that he is the friend of Lord, friend of all living entities. There is actually no loss or gain for him by this insult, uh, but because of this offense, even though he may be strong as Lord Shiva, he will be vanquished. So Srila Prabhupada mentions very clearly that how we should follow in steps of King Rahūgaṇa in this context, that we have to be very cautious in not committing offense at lotus feet of a Vaishnava, and how King Rahūgaṇa was very intelligent and conscious of the offense he did at lotus feet of Jaḍa, and he was very, very anxious to be excused by him, begging for forgiveness. So I made a small slide about this offense, like how this is a Bhakti Lata beach which we receive by the grace of Guru and Krishna, seed of devotional service, and how it grows into a plant to the degree we supply it with water. So, and this is the fence. So, this is, it needs the water, and fertility of the soil is also important in this case. So, does anyone remember what is the watering process and what is the fertility of the soil?
Watering process is hearing chanting,
Yes, Prabhu.
and fertility of the soil is our humility.
Yes, yes. So the watering process is Shravanam Kirtanam. By our daily sadhana, chanting, hearing, we nourish that seed. And it is also to be protected from a fence. So mad elephant is like Vaishnava Aparadh, which breaks the fence and uproots that plant. The destruction of this fencing is compared to Vaishnava Aparadh. And the fertility of soils is compared with Vaishnava qualities like humility, like how Jagannath Gopal Prabhu mentioned about humility, and few other qualities like respectful attitude, satisfaction, gratitude, like we've heard from Guru Maharaj many instances uh, about gratitude as the fertility of the soil, and tolerance, all these Vaishnava qualities. So if there is Vaishnava Aparadh, then the taste in devotional service goes away. Our taste and participation in bhakti will reduce, and Krishna helps Vaishnavas in the heart. And when we harm Vaishnavas, we offend Vaishnavas, we are hurting Krishna's heart too. So Krishna is actually he feels offended, and it's also most displeasing to him. So he only gets pleased if we beg forgiveness from the devotee whom we offended. So this is slide about three types of offenses. Uh, so first thing is not to commit any mistake. Uh, so Gaurang Darshan Prabhu says, like all our spiritual sadhana should bring us to the stage where we respond appropriately at the spur of the moment. So good behavior, good proper etiquettes are expected from us spontaneously, but of course it is not easy. It is at a very elevated stage. We have to gradually progress towards that. And the second case is where if we cannot, if mistake is committed, then we apologize for it. And if uh, mm, we we apologize for it, try to rectify it, and not repeat the mistake. And the third case is committing mistake and justifying it without rectifying it. So can anyone guess where the interaction between King Rahūgaṇa and Jad Bharat, where does King Rahūgaṇa fall into?
Second category.
Second.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. So yes, so King Rahugana, though he committed offense, he was humble enough, he was intelligent enough to beg forgiveness. And a few examples I got for the first box, like Vasudev, third box, Hiranyakashipu, Ravan, Duryodhan. So so there is one more question that the first we saw the two cases about Vaishnava dacoits trying to kill Jad Bharat, and second one, Rahugana offending Jad Bharat. So both are Vaishnava Aparadhas. Then what is the difference? Uh, would anyone would like to try?
One difference is uh, the king was in a more responsible position. Like in general, the king is considered more knowledgeable. The king is considered more responsible for his actions in a sense,
Mm.
than the dacoits. So that is one difference.
Mhm. Yes, Prabhu. So the first Vaishnava Aparadh done by dacoits, they were actually in mode of ignorance and they were destroyed. And the second one done by the king, he was in mode of goodness. He offended, but he apologized also. He came back to his senses and apologized, so he was protected. So if we admit the mistake without justifying it and apologize for that mistake honestly and sincerely, then it will be forgiven. Uh, would anyone want to contribute for any examples of Vaishnava Aparadh from scriptures?
Indra comes to mind many times, Pooji, towards his own guru,
Mm.
Brihaspati. So he definitely committed Vaishnava Aparadh there. Um, yeah, there's many examples of Indra actually. Even with Krishna, in one sense, he
Mhm.
committed Vaishnava Aparadh. Yeah, I'll let others speak, but yeah, Nandini and
Yes,
Ritesh.
thank you. Yes, Ritesh Prabhu, Nandini Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. Nandini is saying Durvasa Muni.
Yes, thank you. Amazing. Yes. I actually had a next slide. I was asking devotees to guess it, but you already mentioned. The pastime of it's a classic example of Vaishnava Durvasa Muni and Ambrish Maharaj. Uh, that how he went to Ambrish Maharaj, who was breaking his Ekadashi fast, and he uh, with his mystic powers. It was getting late for Durvasa Muni was getting late, and Amrish Maharaj had requested him to take prasad. So he went to take bath in Yamuna, and he was getting late. So by that time, Amrish Maharaj took some water and to break the fast because Paran time was ending. So he saw how Durvasa Muni saw from his mystic powers that uh, he took some water before feeding him. So he became very angry, created fiery demon to kill Amrish Maharaj, and it and the how the Sudarshan Chakra comes and burns that demon to ashes, and Sudarshan, we know the pastime that how Sudarshan Chakra chases Durvasa Muni, uh, and because he offended a Vaishnava, uh, and even Lord Shiva and Brahma could not give shelter. They were incapable of protecting this offender, and and we know how mm, mm, sorry between so how Ravan also comparing with Ravan, how he got benedictions from Lord Shiva and Brahma also, and but Lord Ram decided to kill him, and so nobody could protect Ravan. So Durvasa Muni went to Vaikuntha, and there Lord Vishnu also said he won't be able to see. We should go and take back forgiveness, surrender to Amrish Maharaj, beg forgiveness from him. Then only uh, uh, they can deal with this offense. So the next, I had got few pastimes, but in interest of time, I will quickly go over them. It's already 10. So there are a few examples of Vaishnava Aparadh which I noted down, like Daksha and Lord Shiva, and how Daksha from fourth canto is how he offended Lord Shiva, and that was not an accidental offense, and uh, how that the whole story went. That Daksha, he was envious of Lord Shiva. He was not he didn't know the glories of Lord Shiva. Uh, he was proud and he was envious of the exalted position of Lord Shiva. He even called Shiva a monkey-eyed rascal and is not qualified to marry my daughter Sati. Um, we know how Daksha was killed by Veerbhadra, and even uh, after changing his body, his offensive mentality continues in next birth. He took birth as son of Prachitas. He goes to please Lord Vishnu and even gets darshan of Lord Vishnu, and but he did not attain the purification. He procreated 10,000 sons. Then Narad Muni made all of them brahmacharis, and later in again procreated thousand sons. Narad Muni turned them also into pure devotees, and they become renunciates. So Narad Muni thought that he will become humbled and may have attained detachment, but Daksha was still in offensive spirit. He blasphemed Narad Muni as asadhu, and he cursed Narad as he may not have permanent residence anywhere. So we can see how one offense to one Vaishnava led him to offend another Vaishnava. So when we don't deal with pure Vaishnavas properly, Lord is not pleased by our service. The next one is Amogha and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's small pastime from Chaitanya Charitamrit, that how Amogha offended Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya invited Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and served him a big feast in his house. He fed him sumptuously and cooked 100 items. Amogha entered and says that sannyasi is supposed to be self-controlled and renunciate, and you're not supposed to give him so much food. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him why did he allow envy, anger to enter his heart. You are Brahman and Krishna stays in your heart. So keep your heart clean so that Krishna can stay. So Amogha realized his offense and started slapping himself. So later Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave him love of Godhead because he realized his mistake. And also in the example of Ramchandra Khan and Srila Haridas Thakur, that we can see how Ramchandra Khan wanted to defame this great Vaishnava Haridas Thakur, and he did not, because he did not like the respect received by Haridas Thakur by the people. Uh, he sent prostitute to prove that Haridas Thakur was not following four regulative principles, and but as a result of this act, the result was the prostitute got transformed into pure Vaishnava, and she later got transformed and distributed all the wealth among Vaishnavas and other needy people. So Ramchandra Khan offended Haridas Thakur and later offended Nityanand Prabhu also. So if you offend one Vaishnava and don't regret it, don't admit it, then we can become victim of another Vaishnava aparadh also. So we can learn to that one can rectify offenses as early as possible. So in the last example of Lakshman and Bharat, Bharat had no clue what Kaikeyi was planning. Ram had to go in exile. Bharat took all the Ayodhya Vasis and went to the forest to meet Lord Ram in Chitrakoot. So when Lakshman saw him from a distance, and he said, because of Bharat, we came to forest. Now he is coming with so many soldiers probably to attack and kill Lord Ram. Then Ram said to Bharat that never think like that in your dream also. Just wait and watch. So we know how Ram Bharat Milap episode happened, and Lakshman doubted Bharat's intention at first place, but later was pacified by the Lord. So Gaurang Das Prabhu says like how doubting someone's intentions can be painful that person, and it is also a type of aparadh. So the common thing which we have seen in several of these pastimes is that offender offends a devotee, then he realizes his offense and then begs forgiveness from the devotees. He will be forgiven. But if he continues his offending attitude towards devotees, then he will be punished and he will be brought to his senses in some or the other way. Uh, I had few more slides, but in interest of time, I'll quickly go over them. It's a small section I got from Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, that uh, that how what in this context of this pastime, that what are the dangers of judgment? Like if we simply uh, see small side of a person for small time, and then we try to put a permanent label on their entire personality, so that is quite dangerous. Uh, 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 and one example he was giving, for example, like if we meet a person from certain community who cheated us, and then he says that entire community is full of cheaters, so that is being biased and prejudiced. So similarly, Rahūgaṇa is not a fool; he is also a wise person. So how this is typical classic Chaitanya Charan Prabhu's illustrations, like how he mentioned about he explained about King Rahugana's character, using this diagram, like how people are complex. On one side, there's mode of passion within him, and there is eagerness for Krishna Katha also. On the other, that was another feature in him. So when initial situation when he was dealing with Jat Bharat, his mode of passion was prominent, and his eagerness for Krishna Katha was insignificant, not even unnoticeable at that time, because his mind was uh, too much covered in mode of passion. But later we saw by the association of Jat Bharat, his transcendental words, he understood who Jat Bharat is, and his mode of passion feature became insignificant, became smaller, and his eagerness for Krishna Katha became prominent. So this is a small thing I got from Chaitanya Charan Prabhu's lecture. So I think with this, I would like to conclude my presentation. Uh, Thank you, dear devotees, for joining. Is there any comments or questions?
That was wonderful, Nadia Kishore Prabhu. Thank you so much. I liked all the slides and how, especially the last two slides where you showed the circle with the mode of passion and eagerness for Krishna Katha, and how everything can still be in one person. One person can have that mode of passion also and also be eager for Krishna Katha. But once they come in the association of a self-realized soul, then the eagerness for Krishna Katha just comes out, and then the mode of passion somehow goes down. So Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi Hoy, even a moment's association with a pure self-realized soul can bring out that eagerness of Krishna Katha that is dormant within all our hearts. So thank you, Prabhu, and all the slides, the Gauranga Darshan Prabhu's uh, lecture that you heard, the points about Vaishnava Aparadh with relevant examples, everything was spot on. Thank you so much. He put in a lot of effort. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for the encouragement.
I totally second what Gaur Kumar Prabhu mentioned. Thank you for the wonderful preparation, Prabhu, and wonderful delivery. Especially the breaking down all the aspects, starting with how Jad Bharat dealt with different people in different modes differently. Then the conversation between Rahūgaṇa and Jad Bharat. So the interesting thing that you really that I found, which you really nicely shared, is Jad Bharat says something, then Rahūgaṇa says something, then Jad Bharat kind of counters it, and then Rahūgaṇa counter questions that, those things said by Jada Bharat as well. So it just goes to show the thoughtfulness of Rahūgaṇa also, in a way, that he was not just accepting, but he was actually trying to make it relevant to reality as well. And yeah, so many other things, that illustration of the watering the root, watering the Bhakti Lata Beej, and the soil, and offense to Vaishnavas being like the mad elephant offense. So yeah, it was very beautiful overall. Thank you, Prabhu. Nourish it. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Actually, Aishwarya also helped me with content and pictures. So
Thank you again, Prabhu. If I can just make one comment and maybe a slight question also, is somehow in our movement, and this is from Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, somehow in our movement, Vaishnava Aparadh is so much emphasized that it's come to a point where devotees are so scared to bring up any point because they're in fear that they may commit Vaishnava Aparadh and their entire Bhakti Lata Beej will be completely vanquished. So it's something that I've thought about a lot, that because even sometimes I've seen some devotee may commit an offense, but the other devotee who sees that offense may not tell the authorities because of the fear of Vaishnava Aparadh. So we have to take it in context. If you go back to that slide, Prabhu, go back to that slide where you gave the examples a little bit. Yeah, stop right here, right here. So if you look at the examples on the right hand side, it's Lord Shiva, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Haridas Thakur, Bharat Maharaj, they're all very exalted souls, actually. So they were able to accept that Vaishnava Prad and, and purify the person who committed that Vaishnava Prad. So we have to take it in context. The Bhagavatam gives tough and extreme examples, but we must always consult with senior devotees, especially if something is bothering us, somebody has hurt us. We should not just keep swallowing it and keep tolerating it just in the mood of Vaishnava Prad, because that might burn us from within. So it is okay to reveal your heart, and especially to some authorities. And even Radhika Raman Prabhu actually mentions this. He's given a whole seminar at ISV on this topic about Vaishnava Prad. So just wanted to add that to balance out what you mentioned.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for the beautiful insight. And yeah, it's very, very important, definitely, the point which you mentioned.
Anyone else would like to say anything about this wonderful class? Otherwise, we can end.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Hare, can you hear me?
Yes, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Everybody said, and Gautam Prabhu also said, the Vaishnava Prad, examples are all very wonderful, and also the comparison of what the conversation between Rahūgaṇa and Jaḍa is really nice. Like what was each question and how was his reply. I really like that slide. Overall, it was like well prepared, and I know that you and Aishwarya worked together, so nice. And it was a very wholesome class. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji.
Okay, dear devotees. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। हिज ग्रेस नदिया किशोर प्रभु की जय। हरि ओम।
जगन्नाथ गोपाल प्रभु की जय।
हरे कृष्ण।
Thank you, folks. Hare